Good. Okay, welcome everybody. We're at the workshop portion of our meeting tonight. We have 3 candidates for soon to be open position for the trustee for Ryan Barwick. Each candidate will get 20 minutes, so keep it concise and we'll cut off. I need somebody that can cut us off. Michael, if you can 20 minutes cut us off, or 19 minutes, let us know that we need to wrap it up. Okay. And Peggy Smith, welcome. Peggy's here at the town hall in person.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
It's good to see everybody.
Thanks for coming in person.
Yeah, and we have, we're going to ask everybody, I believe, the same seven questions. There may be additional questions that pop up, but those are going to be the same for each candidate. Can you please tell us about yourself and why you think you should be appointed to serve on the town board?
Well, I've lived in the community for 22 years. And I've been a committed volunteer. I've also been on the board. I was on the board starting in 2010, I believe. I was on the planning commission prior to that. So I have a long history with the town of Fraser. I was the mayor from 2012 to 2016. And so I've had a few years off to kind of observe, and decided that a 1-year appointment would be perfect to get back in and kind of help the town transition with a new town manager and address some of the critical issues that the town is currently facing, which I believe the biggest issue is affordable housing. I think it's a national problem, but it's a really big problem in Fraser and the Fraser Valley. I think that broadband, another critical piece of infrastructure that I've been really a strong proponent of. I was on the Mountain Parks Electric Board for 3 years. I do think there's going to be some federal funding coming down the pike. And I think that's something that we really need to work hard on, is to collaborate with hopefully Mountain Parks Electric and the other players, that we can build an infrastructure that works not just for the town of Fraser, but for the outlying communities as well. I think we have to address our roads. Obviously, Highway 40 is kind of reaching its max. And so we need to work with CDOT on that. We need to figure out how we're going to build the Fraser Parkway, which is going to be a critical piece of infrastructure. Transit expansion, obviously, the more people we attract, the more buses we need. So that's always going to be an ongoing issue. I think last summer we saw a major problem with the forest fires. The wildlife urban interface is a challenging place to live, and it's a beautiful place, but we need to figure out what we can do to protect our communities. I think we need to address our emergency interconnect that has been dragging on since I was mayor. We still haven't gotten that resolved. And also business diversification. I think the pandemic really brought home how reliant we are on tourism. And I think it's important that we figure out a way to attract businesses that are not solely tourism based. So those are some of the challenges that I think we need to address. And I think we're at an exciting time. I think we're going to see some federal money. I think there's just a lot of opportunity, and there's a lot of growth, which is a double-edged sword. And we need to figure out how we manage it. So those are kind of my big issues.
Great. And how would you accomplish, you kind of went into the second question, right? How would you accomplish some of those things that you were just talking about?
Well, I believe collaboration is really key. And we have a lot of partners. We can work with the town of Winter Park, with the county, CDOT. We we basically need to come up with a plan so that we can fund some of these issues, and it's going to take cross collaboration to do that. So I'm just collaborate.
Thank you. What do you think the role of a town board trustee should be? And put another way, as a public official, how would you best serve the citizens of Fraser?
I believe, you're one of 7. So obviously it's a majority rules operation. So I think it's, how do you build consensus among the board? And I think that's really key. I know what it's like to work as the mayor and be on a board where it's always a 3 to 4 vote. I've seen that in this board. I think that's really challenging. I would like to think that by working together, we will accomplish a lot more. And I think building consensus is the key.
Great. It is the town board as an entity that is responsible for legislative decisions and directions. How will you navigate the complex decisions, different points of views, and final decisions as an individual trustee in respect to your fellow peers?
I think everybody has a right to their opinion, and I respect everybody's opinions. I think that that's important. I also think that we need to maybe expand some of our associations with bringing in some specialists to help us with some of the more challenging decisions we've made. I know that we typically like to operate on a shoestring budget, but a lot of times I think that really hurts us because none of us are experts in some of the fine details of affordable housing, financing, and it's really, to me, having those experts come in and share their expertise is key.
Okay. The town board has designated a council manager form of government. What is the role of a trustee in engaging staff?
Well, I don't think that's probably changed since the last time I was here, but it was sort of, you do not talk to staff on an ongoing basis and go behind the town manager's back. The town manager is supposed to be in charge of the staff. And if you feel like something's not being done, you address it with the town manager.
As a statutory town, the Colorado Revised Statutes governs conflicts of interest for elected officials. How will you respond to conflict of interest claims for yourself and or the board?
I think that's one of the biggest issues that we've had, is conflicts of issues. We obviously are a small town. It's really hard not to have conflicts. We have 2 major developers and everybody kind of interfaces on one way or the other with our developers. So it's a challenge. And I think it's incumbent on us as board members to make sure that we recuse ourselves when we're voting on something that we have possibly a business stake in that maybe is not as apparent to some people as to others. But, it's if you are involved with Rendezvous or Grand Park on a business relationship on a regular basis, that's a problem.
Okay. The town board meets twice, excuse me, twice per month on the 1st and 3rd for workshops and then for regular meetings. There will be other special meetings, engagements that would also require your attendance. Can you commit to the schedule?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. Wednesday. Great. Those are the 7 questions. Does any of the board members want to ask any specific questions or make comments or?
Got all the right answers.
Well, I've been here
He
before.
answered the next question with the current question every single time.
Well, I would really like this position. I feel like I've rested for 5 years. I'm ready to get back into it. I understand the commitment time-wise. And I hope that you will choose me because I'm really ready to work hard and collaborate to make this town what I think we have the opportunity to grow into the future. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. And I look forward to your decision.
Thanks.
Thank you, Peggy.
Thank you.
Okay, now we were gonna have we weren't anywhere close to
Thank you, Peggy.
20 minutes, so. Okay, so we'll take a little, how many minute break? 9-minute break? Come up to the podium. Welcome. Thanks for coming.
Oh, you bet. Thank you guys.
And you've had your shots.
Yes.
You could take your mask off.
Okay.
He's fully vaccinated.
Yes.
He's a ski patrol.
Try and remember to wear it as much as I can. Though I do come in contact with a lot of people though. So.
Right. Great. Thanks for coming, Brian. And then we're asking the same 7 questions of each candidate.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a level playing field for everybody. So if you can just do a quick introduction and then let us know why you should be appointed to serve on the board.
All right. My name is Brian Roman. I was born and raised in this community. I've lived here pretty much full time my entire life. Currently, I work as a ski patroller up at Winter Park, and then in the summers, I work for Nick's Dirtworks, kind of his main guy, for lack of a better term. A little bit about me. Why I want to be involved with the town board. I see a lot of opportunity coming in the future for this town, and I feel like this is a good opportunity for me to start putting my name out there to be a part of it. I'd like to, help shape where the town goes in the next 10 to 15 years and really kind of help it grow, help it maintain the success we're seeing right now with the growth, the new development, just where it's kind of been going after the recession. How we've come out of that has been awesome, I feel like, in this community, and I'd like to see that keep going.
Great. Thank you. If appointed, what would you try to accomplish in your time on the town council?
I'd like to see definitely the sustained growth, but also environmental growth with that. Something that always bugs me, and in my little part of the neighborhood, is the trash. I'd like to see maybe a town cleanup day, a town funded trash day, where it's so expensive to get rid of larger ticket items up here, like a couch or something. Some of these people that maybe the town could we could do some kind of trash day like that. That'd be something I'd really like to see push towards.
Great, thank you. What do you think the role of a town board trustee should be? And put another way, as a public official, how would you best serve the citizens of Fraser?
I think a town board trustee should be a representative of the demographics within the town. There's quite a movement of younger people into this community, and I feel like being on the town board, I'd be able to represent that demographic a little more. But the town board trustee also needs to have a look towards the future while remembering your past. I feel like this town has an amazing history and legacy that we can't forget. While we're moving forward, we don't want to just completely lose that, but we need to see what the new needs of the town or the people that live in our town are, and how we best serve them.
Okay. It is the town board as an entity that is responsible for legislative decisions and direction. How will you navigate the complex decisions, different points of views, and final decisions as an individual trustee in respect to your fellow peers?
It's working as a team, ultimately, and each person needs to be a key player in that team. Each person has a viewpoint that needs to be heard, needs to be understood by your fellow teammates. I feel is a big one. Just listening to somebody talk is one thing, but to actually put yourself in their shoes, understand their perspective, where they're coming from, and how that affects your decision now is a lot to it. One of my best examples, and I used it in my application, we work on a team doing our snow safety work out in the Cirque up at the ski resort. and it's a very high risk job, personal high risk involved with it, dealing with these avalanches and opening the train. And it's a team of 12 of us every morning. There's 10 full-time members, and out of those 10, there's normally always 5 of us there each day. And we have 5 new viewpoints that come in every day to that. And to listen to what they're seeing, listen to their perspectives, listen to the perspectives of the folks that I've been working with day in and day out there, and then to come up with our common goal of what we're trying to accomplish for that day, all in a quick time period in the morning, is quite challenging. And we successfully do it most of the time, I feel like, and that's because we have a good understanding of what each other's viewpoint is.
The town board is designated a council manager form of government. What is the role of a trustee in engaging staff?
I don't know exactly like what legally, but I imagine, they're not our employee. They're still an employee of the town. We are the elective representatives that voice our opinion from the citizens that make up the town. So we're not in charge of any one town employee. But it's one of those. I'm personal friends with quite a few town employees already, and I can't imagine my relationship with them would change at all. I'm not here to pressure any one town employee in anything, but I feel like as a group, we do have, some say in how the town and the town employees behave, act, what the goals of their daily tasks are. But yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, thank you. Where am I at? As a statutory town, the Colorado Revised Statutes governs conflicts of interest for elected officials. How will you respond to conflict of interest claims for yourself and or the board?
It's one of those that I imagine conflicts of interest could easily come up with me on the board providing my summer job position, possibly. Along with those, though, you have to refrain from participating in it. I think that should also be, though, even if you have a conflict of interest, I think you still have a voice, not necessarily a vote over whatever the delegation may be. So I feel like, even though it might be a conflict for me, I still should be allowed to speak what my thoughts are about it, because it's not just my job that drives why I'd be here at all. I'm here to represent the people of the town, but you have to keep it respectful and separate from your work. And so that's where I feel like, and then people bringing up a conflict of interest. I mean, we all screw up. We all make mistakes. I understand that. And I'd hope I'd realize that I'd have a conflict of interest with something before I'd actually make a vote on it. But, and if that was the case that I did, and it was a conflict of interest, I'd, push to definitely have that fixed or my vote nullified, or however that would take place. I would, I'm not ashamed to have something like that happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. The town board meets twice per month on the first and third Wednesdays for workshops and then for regular meetings. There will be other special meetings and engagements that would also require your attendance. Can you commit to the schedule?
I'll have to make sure my hockey schedule gets changed. But no, that's something me and my wife definitely have talked about, was the commitment that this position would require. Not necessarily being able to go on vacation as easily as we'd like, but as some of you know, we have quite a few dogs, so that's not something we can do anyways. So we're here quite a bit, but it's something if elected by you guys to be on this board, it's definitely something I'd be very serious about. With that also being said, though, I do realize that there's things that come up that you can't avoid. One of them, like death of family or stuff like that. And so, I imagine the town board's very lenient and very agreeing about different issues that might affect a person not being able to make it. So.
Any other questions, comments from the board? Okay, you want to close with any final statements?
I don't know. I'd like to say, there's several board members here that have watched me growing up through the years, all sorts of different ways. And I just want to say thank you for this opportunity to even make it this far and come and get to talk to you guys. Thank you.
Great, thanks for coming, Ryan.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Have a good evening.
Yeah, you too.
Good luck tonight.
Yeah, good luck with the hockey.
Keep your skates on.
You better win.
Well, if I win, I still have to cut my hair.
Hey, just be happy. Be happy you have it, all right?
Okay,
All right.
okay, we're gonna take another, looks like a 10-minute break here until Katie shows up, and then we'll get her going.
my daughter had to take over mine. 'Cause I'm not allowed to say drugs.
Okay, we are back. Katie, if you want to jump up to the podium. And thanks for coming tonight. We have asked, we're asking the same 7 questions of all the candidates.
Okay,
And if you can start by giving us a little introduction and then let us know why you think you should be appointed to the town board.
okay. My name is Katie Fisher.
And then if you can just use the mic there.
I'm Katie Fisher and I'm a Fraser resident. I think I know pretty much everybody in here right now. So you guys all know me. I'm a business owner of 2 businesses in Fraser. Have a lot of employees. I hear their grievances a lot, which is one of the reasons I think that I'd be good to like help voice what I see going on. Like I talk to people from Fraser all day long, you know, so I think I'd be good at it that way.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
If appointed, what would you try to accomplish in your time on the board?
Ooh. You know what I think there isn't any of in this town really that it needs is a little bit of like mental health outreach, something like that for the local residents. And something for people that have addictions in this town that are like it's going crazy with drugs in this town and people don't even really I think they're kind of getting swept under the rug, you know what I mean? I think it'd be good to have like some kind of outreach program for them, some kind of volunteer program they can call, or maybe we could help fund the volunteer, like to train the volunteers or something like that. That would be cool. That's something I want to see done here in Fraser.
Okay. What do you think the role of a town board trustee should be? Put another way, as a public official, how would you best serve the citizens of the town of Fraser?
How would I best serve them? Well, I kind of want to be like, I try not to have a face to every, like when I was here the other night, I don't really want to have a face to everything that's going on. Like, I want it to be like, I want to learn it all. You know what I mean? Like, I want to learn how to do all of this so I can like represent them.
Okay.
I want the best person for that you guys have talked to do it because I live here. So, you know, if I'm not the best one, then I want you to pick the right one. Does that make sense?
Mhm, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I voted for you guys to make the good choices.
Great, thank you. It is the board, it is the town board as an entity that is responsible for legislative decisions and directions.
Mhm.
How will you navigate the complex decisions, different points of views, and final decisions as an individual trustee in respect to your fellow peers?
Can you repeat that?
Yep.
That's really long.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah. It is the town board as an entity that is responsible for, so the 7 people that sat here
Right.
works as an entity. The vote of the 7, not just a one individual vote can make the decision. You know, it has to be a majority. So how would you deal with if what you wanted wasn't voted for? I guess is how would you treat your fellow town board members?
Well, I mean, we all are here for a reason. We're all here because we all have different opinions. That's why, right? If we were all the same, it wouldn't really be that interesting. We wouldn't. We're supposed to all be different. We're supposed to all have different opinions. Everybody brings something different to the meeting to see different points of view. So, I mean, I'm pretty open to that.
And if your point of view was not voted in,
Well, I have to respect
and-
everyone's point of view.
Okay. Yeah.
You know.
Okay. Yeah. The town board has designated council manager form of government. So it's this board and then the manager.
Okay.
What is the role of a trustee in engaging staff?
Engaging staff of the town of Fraser?
Mhm.
What do you mean? I'm sorry.
Do you think as a trustee that you should go to Antoinette and say, you need to do this, this, and this.
No, I'm here as you just said it, the last question, it's all an entity.
Okay.
And I can't talk to them without everyone else, right?
Good answer.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm green. I'm gonna have to learn everything. If I
Right,
get this,
right.
you
Yeah,
know.
that's
I don't
all
know
right.
any.
As a statutory
Political.
town, the Colorado Revised Statutes governs conflicts of interest for elected officials. How will you respond to conflict of interest claims for yourself and or the board?
I would hope to just be a public servant for the town of Fraser once I'm in the meeting, you know, like it'll be a job kind of for me. You know, it wouldn't be like, it would be a different person not a different person, but like a different role, you know? Like I'd be Katie out there, but then I would be like Katie, the trustee in here, where I would have to like read the packets and like understand like what, like vote on that kind of like the facts, you know what I mean? Like what's in the facts and what I have the facts for, not like, hey, like you mean like me and Parnell have done property deals together and that you think that we'd be buddies or something?
I don't think anything. I'm just asking you
Okay.
how you would deal with,
Oh, okay.
How you
No,
would
I
deal
don't, I'm
with-
not accusing you, but I'm saying is that's like what you're asking.
What he's talking about is like the lot that you just sold to Mike Zeller, right? If
Yeah.
they came in as a development, that's a conflict of interest for you. How would you deal with that conflict of interest when they come in to decide on the subdivision?
Oh, then I think I answered it right the first time. I would just have to be when I get here, I just have to like let it go and just only read the facts and just make decisions based on that. Like,
the town board meets twice per month on the first and third Wednesdays for workshops and then for regular meetings. There will be other special meetings and engagements that would also require your attendance. Can you commit to the schedule?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's food, right?
You're not
Yeah.
busy. You're not the least bit busy.
Most of it.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you
I was just
remember
like,
to
how
order
do
it.
I was like, I need to volunteer more in line at the bank the other day. I'm like, what am I thinking?
Yeah. Yeah,
But this is interesting to me. So
That's good.
right. Yeah,
Put your
it's good to
calendar.
get involved. And then any other questions from the board? Okay, do you want any closing
no,
remarks or?
I think you guys all know me. You know, I'm not a very good public speaker, but you guys all know who I am. You know, you guys know what I'm about. So, and you guys are voting, right?
Yep.
So you guys,
Yeah,
are you voting?
no, these two are not voting.
Brian's not voting.
Ryan is not voting.
Brian doesn't get a vote.
You can't vote on,
This will be on the 21st.
it's on the 21st.
You can't
Gotcha.
see Brian, but.
Not
Brian's
till the
on
next
stream,
meeting.
right?
So where's
Yeah,
Brian?
Yeah, and
Brian's-
Brian's on.
So
Yeah,
Brian's
there's
up on the video.
Okay,
All right.
thank you. We coming in. We appreciate all the
All right,
candidates
thanks,
coming in.
Katie.
Thank you, Katie.
Thanks, Katie.
Did
Well, we got
Brian
10
just now get
minutes
unmuted? Oh, he's been unmuted the whole time. Okay.
Yeah, no, I just said thanks.
Okay, yeah, I just hadn't heard you. So, okay, we will be back at 7. Like to call to order the Town of Fraser's regular board meeting Wednesday, April 7th, 2021 at 7 PM. Can I please, 7, right? Yeah. Can I please have a roll call?
Katie Souls.
Ryan Barwick.
Eileen Waldo.
Cornell Quinn.
Andy Miller.
Ryan Sirkvinick.
And Philip Vandernale. Katie has asked that we
Agenda.
switch the agenda so that the executive session is after discussion and possible action. So I'd like to suggest that. So that would be number 5 and number 4 would be discussion and possible action. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda with that change?
So move.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Your back, Ted.
Opposed? Okay, next is the consent agenda, which includes resolution 2021-0402, the sanitary sewer maintenance and repair. Resolution 2021-0403, Fraser well rehabilitation. Resolution 2021-0404, the Kona ice facility usage permit and indemnification agreement. Can I have a motion to approve that?
I'd like to move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
I'll-
but I'm also wondering why there's no minutes in it.
Eileen's my
yeah.
minutes person.
I apologize because they weren't completed. They'll be on the next meeting.
Okay. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are now at discussion and possible action, resolution 2021-0401, authorizing the 9-month extension for Riverview condominiums.
I'd like to recuse myself. I'm still involved with this project.
Thanks, Andy. Okay. You want to come up and read this?
So we've, I've
You
just
just have
asked,
to introduce yourself and
Ted Carney.
if you live in the town of Fraser.
I live in Grandview right now. So yes, I'm just asking for an extension on the 1-year timeframe for the plat recordation on the Riverview Townhomes.
So Mayor and Board, there is a memo in there from Catherine on this item. There's been a lot of issues that they've been working through. We've had COVID on our plate, and now we're starting to work on some CDOT stuff. And we just need to really get to the bottom of some of their conversations and proposed changes that would potentially adversely affect this. So it's staff's request, along with Ted's request, that we grant a 9-month. We feel like that would extend it and give us a time to work through some of those issues and kind of catch back up. Oh, sorry, catch back up. My apologies, Katie.
You're fading.
It's late in the day. I might have a raspy voice.
Right. I don't see any problem with this, so. I
No,
don't-
me neither.
If we can entertain a motion.
Well, would this set a precedent? If we allow one person to get an extension, does that set a precedent for other people that need extensions?
It's in the,
We've,
I believe it's in the code that
We've
we
given
can get 2
extensions.
extensions.
I'm just double checking.
Yeah.
we give extensions.
Okay.
So I think you're right to have your eye on that, and we ought to be thoughtful and not, but I think in this case, given what we've worked through this project, we've been a really weird year, and we still just recently found out about some issues that we need to work through with CDOT. So it would be our request that we.
For the record, I'm for the.
Yeah, no,
extension.
right.
I just
But
want to make sure.
That's a
we
good
didn't
question. Yes.
Step on our own toes somewhere.
Thank you.
Too late for that. Okay, can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2021-0401, authorizing a 9-month extension for Riverview condominiums.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Great, thanks, Ted.
Good luck,
Thank you.
Ted.
Thank you for doing that. Thank you for coming.
Does this make sense to have the Merrick without having the executive now
We do need to have the executive session, yes, sir, just so we can,
before? Okay,
if you don't mind.
so I switched.
So
all-
my intention was just to be 5A.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't say that. But
Um,
Yeah, I mean,
there's no one else here for these other.
But we can plow through, that's fine.
items.
Well,
Let's,
there's people on
because I said, let's switch.
Yeah, that's fine.
Let's go ahead and move. We can't do B until after we have the executive session.
Correct.
So let's go to C, ordinance 482, designate the municipal court to hear all alleged violations of the alcohol beverage code.
So I'll speak to this one. So currently, the town board is the liquor licensing authority for the town. And what happens is if there is an alleged violation of the liquor code, the board acts as a quasi judicial entity for a public hearing. And in that manner, it could put the board in a very difficult political decision that needs to be made on judging potentially a town board member or a member of the community that has a liquor license. So moving this to the municipal court takes it out of the board's hands and moves it to the municipal court, who is usually the judge of a jury and knows the laws, and allows them to make those decisions, and leaves the local authority to issue new liquor licenses, as you guys already do, and it keeps that authority in place.
So just to be clear, the town board would stay as the authority when it comes to issuing and granting liquor license. What you're basically going to do is move the enforcement downstream, which typically happens with statutory towns. At some point, they decide, hey, you know what, this is better served by having a municipal judge do the enforcement. We grant the license, we make sure those provisions are taken care of. But now on the enforcement side, as the chief or other officers are engaged with writing tickets or summons or whatever that may look like, now we're going to queue this up for a municipal judge who would more likely be routinely understand how these things are settled, what the issues would be, how to go about, recommending enforcement, what that might look like, those kind of things. So that's the decision in front of the board. So,
I think it's a good idea. Question though, have we talked with the municipal judge in court? Are they
So
willing?
Winter Park passed a similar ordinance about a year ago, appointing the municipal judge in the same capacity that we're proposing to do here.
Okay, so we still have one. Who is our municipal judge?
It's
Ron Carlson is his name. He serves as the.
That's good.
He serves as the judge for several municipalities in the mountains.
Okay.
And actually is a resident of Summit County. So
Okay.
it would really take the politics all out of it because he doesn't know anybody.
Right. And he could take that on.
Oh, absolutely.
That's not
Yes.
an issue. Good.
And
I think
Katie,
it's
you
a good
might
idea.
remember when we didn't require that our municipal judge be an attorney, but I did cross-check with Rod and that is a requirement now. Our municipal judge does have to be an attorney also.
Okay.
So.
And then as town clerk, how many of these violations have you seen since you've been the town clerk?
none.
That's so it's not like it comes up very often. So. Okay, further discussion or a motion?
What's the downside to this? I asked that as an open question, and Chief, I don't know if you're the best person to answer that. I don't know. I was just trying to think through, right? Like, I see the pros for sure. I get that. I don't know what the downside was. I mean, I was trying to think back to my stuff a few years ago, right? I'm trying to understand this and the downside. I don't know. I don't know if there is one.
I guess depending upon how you look at it, that maybe, since I've been working in this county, we've tried to refer stuff to the state as much as possible. If there is any kind of political interference possible, because you folks are in a really tough position when you're having to make decisions on somebody's livelihood. And so a potential downside would be is that you might have a feeling that you're giving up a little bit of control. But on the other hand, the upside to it is that you're out of it for political reasons and you're giving it to somebody who has a law degree who can make those decisions, who without influence from anybody.
Is there an appeal process or?
There absolutely is. under the municipal court regulations, they can appeal to district court, I believe, or county court or district court. I can't remember which it is.
Would this remove kind of that state review process?
Not necessarily. I mean, it's, because as you know, there's this dual licensing thing.
Right.
But my experience has been is that if a local licensing authority is going to take action against somebody, the state generally stays out of it.
Yeah, the state heavily relies on the local authority to administer the licenses and really make sure that everybody's following the laws and the statutes.
I'm just trying to think back to, for those of you that don't know, I had an employee go rogue, to say the least, number of years ago.
It's a small town.
And that ended up being a state process, right? So I'm familiar with that, and that was a good process. That process, I would say, worked, and so that's what I was trying to understand. Does that process go away, or is that still a parallel process potentially?
No, and I think that if that same situation was to happen today, I hope it never happens again.
Me too.
Not as much as you, but if that same situation were to happen today with Winter Park having the municipal judge as the licensing authority, I think there's no question we would have done that locally.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments, motions?
I'd like to move, we approve ordinance 482, designate the municipal court to hear all alleged violations of the alcohol beverage code.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion, opposed? Any opposed? Sorry.
Aye.
2 opposed? Catch that, Antoinette? Okay. Motion carries 5-2. Next is ordinance 483, wildlife protection and enforcement.
Good evening, everyone. I'll be kind of going over this real quick. It's pretty straightforward with this. Currently, with the dumpsters, the curbside dumpsters that are being pushed to the right of way for collection by the trash company and waste management. Currently, our code allows for a notice of violation to be served to anyone whose trash gets broken into when it's not properly secured or not in a wildlife approved or resistant container. What this amending this ordinance will do is take that from the current 2 violations in a 12-month period to just a single violation, to require the service provider that has that can at the curb to obtain a wildlife proof container.
So service provider. So it goes to the trash company?
No, it goes to the customer of that service provider.
Gotcha. So what's the penalty? We give them a written warning, that's it?
So right now, if there is the first fine, I think first is a notice of violation, correct, Glenn? And then if there's another violation within that 12-month period, they are given that second notice of violation, and then they are required to get a wildlife proof container from either the trash company or waste management, which are readily available.
Okay.
So
what if they don't?
And if they fail to do so, then they are provided with a fine for $100 for the first penalty.
Okay.
The second fine is a $200 penalty. And is it 300 or do you go to court after that? Can't remember. I believe the third violation goes to it's a court order to appear in court and
Okay.
go before a judge.
And is that something that our police department delivers, enforces? It's not a
Correct.
town obligation?
So is there such a thing as a wildlife proof container of that size? These are
So,
oversized trash cans.
This is also for people's trash cans, right? You're not
Correct.
talking just the big 1 and 2 yard dumpsters.
Right. So Colorado Parks and Wildlife, they do have, our code does reference the Colorado Parks and Wildlife basic interpretation of what a wildlife proof and wildlife resistant container is. There are ways to do it with a regular standard trash can, just silver lid and round lid on top to be fastened down along the sides. But ultimately, the issue that we're trying to address here is just the attraction of wildlife, bringing specifically larger wildlife such as black bears into the community, which can often result in those bears being put down, being euthanized. So trying to prevent that through trying to prevent the abundance of these trash canisters. A lot of these are continuous violators. And because it does require 2 notices within a 12-month period, a lot of them just kind of continue year to year. And versus just 1 notice of violation requiring that wildlife proof container, and trying to alleviate these on a case-by-case basis, on a location by location basis.
Yeah, I have neighbors that were consistently, that put their trash out the night before and the bears got into it.
Katie, can you use your microphone?
I'm
please?
sorry.
Thank you.
Anyway, I had neighbors that were consistently, that did not have any kind of a locking device on their totes, and the bears were in it every trash day.
You said they put it out the night before, Katie?
Yep, and they would put it out the night before.
So
That's a violation.
our current code requires you can put it out as soon as it's 8 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
And then it needs to be brought back in by 8 p.m. that same day, I believe.
So like, I'm assuming through our newsletter that we're going to educate.
Every season, especially around this season, we provide that type of education through our newsletter. We will again this spring.
Okay.
We
And
make
can
that a priority.
Throw in the fine and the 1 warning fine.
Right.
And all that to really let them know. Okay.
And currently our code does state that any new resident who orders a new service or transfer service, they are required to get a wildlife proof or a wildlife resistant container as advised or as defined by the Colorado Parks and Wildlife, by the CPW.
So all new service has to have these cans, or?
For residential, yes. Commercial, they have different standards for refuse than residential. But yes, for any new residential customer within the town limits of Fraser is required to get a wildlife. Really just the carabiner on the front is kind of the standard.
But that really is that really wildlife proof? Or?
It's not wildlife proof.
It's a great deterrent.
It's resistant. I've had before I started putting ours in the garage, we actually had ours with the carabiner on the front get flipped over and diapers scraped out of it from the bear.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, and Philip, you're probably familiar with this. I mean, the Ptarmigan neighborhood can get pretty bad up there. I mean, the number of tipped over cans, and it's not just wildlife, it's the dogs that get into them and everything else. And it just makes a mess. And I'm constantly cleaning up a can that's across the street from Eisenhower on US 40 there in that building that's right on the highway. Because they just put it out and leave it out and it stays out for days. And so I just, I find it hard to believe that the carabiner locked shut trash can is actually going to prevent a bear from getting into it. So I don't know. The main way to prevent it is to not put it out until 8 and pick it up before the end of the day, because this is all happening at night before there's people out. And one of my suggestions was, I know it's an enforcement problem, but if we required the trash companies, there's several companies now with Ranch Creek Waste and Waste Management and the trash company, I think are our 3 purveyors. If we required that these cans have the client's name on it, and then a citation, all the officers got to do is stop at night, take the name off the can and write a citation, take a picture of it if necessary. And I know we're talking about a code enforcement officer and you guys have plenty to do, Glenn, but I'm trying to think of some way to get people convinced that they can't leave these cans out overnight. And part of it's education. I mean, you're getting flyers out about the drop because it really makes sense for people to not, the size of these cans and the size of a bag is not much different. And with the drop, it's going to be a cost savings for them and they don't have to worry about this routine at all. So I don't know, it's a mess. I mean, and I think that there's some ways this is a really good first step. But I think we need to fine tune it so we can enforce it somehow and make it fairly easy to enforce. So.
And just, the conversation, the emails that were shared about this issue,
Yeah.
the town of Winter Park and town of Fraser has discussed this actually very recently about the idea of looking at a code enforcement officer to work with the police department to better enforce these types of issues along with other issues within the two towns. Just due to the our police department are being spread thin, and actually being able to address these issues promptly instead of being more reacting to it.
No, I'm thinking too, the 8 a.m. I know a lot of people would start work
I
at
think
7.
the
Yeah,
co-
that
code
sounded
says-
really. like,
Yeah, I think
it's
8.
not.
I mean, it's
I
good
think
for
the code
bears.
says six.
Oh, does it?
The code says 6.
'Cause I mean, the trash.
Yeah, it seems
company
like that.
Shows up at
The
7.
start time should
I
be
mean, if you're not. out
Depending
there-
where you are.
yeah,
closer
if
to
you're not out
6,
there by-
6:30. Just
Yeah,
for the
I
people
don't
that-
have the full ordinance in front of me, but
Okay.
I believe it is. I apologize. I think it is 6:30. I just know it's
Okay.
the morning of.
Great.
And then it has to be brought in by
Yeah.
evening time and not left overnight, which is
And still,
usually.
if they have it out and it tips over, they're
I
on
mean, typically
notice.
it's after 8 o'clock is when you're going to have these types of issues. When you're going to start having wildlife coming into town looking for a snack. It's happened during the day, but the vast majority of these events occur after 8 p.m.
Can I be clear that the first violation is just basically a warning and a statement that they have to get a wildlife proof container, and then the second violation would be a fine?
So Brian, with our current code, it requires 2 violations within a 12-month period. But what we're recommending is for that to go to like what you just stated, where it is a 1 notice violation to require wildlife. And then if it happens again, then they would be imposed a fine.
Okay, thanks for clarifying.
So the only thing that's changing is just going from 2 violations to 1 violation.
That's all that this is right now. And we understand this is not going to fix this issue. It's not going to make it go away.
It's a
But I
step.
think it takes a good stride in doing so. Town of Winter Park last September, they did a lot of updates for their code, basically to mirror our existing code for a lot of wildlife protection parts of our code.
Mhm.
And one thing that they did that was recommended to us was to go to 1 violation instead of the 2. So that's made enforcement a little bit easier for them. It's helping with the transition too, with just as these events happen, the idea is to be able to lower the number of these events by slowly replacing these cans and having some type of enforcement that complements that.
I'm curious, how do you track the number of violations?
So,
Is that something that,
so I actually get a letter and I actually track these 2 through our police department. So typically someone will call 911. They will say, hey, there's, trash all over the curb here. And they will call police department. They will send an officer to that residence. They'll knock on the door. They'll leave a notice, or they'll do a certified receipt if needed to actually get a response and let them know that they've received a notice of violation. And right now, that needs to happen twice within a 12-month period to require them to obtain the wildlife proof container.
so then they're just in your database, Glenn? Just curious.
And there's a paper trail for that.
Is it ever difficult to identify who the can belongs to in multifamily buildings?
Occasionally, but a lot of them, like in multifamily buildings, there's usually an HOA
Yeah.
who has hired a property manager. And that is typically who we have been going after, is the property management companies, and they're not happy about it. But on the other hand, ultimately, it's their responsibility to,
Yeah.
as an example, we had a property in Winter Park that, it was like every other night. And finally we issued the HOA a summons for it because they just would not deal with it. And they were not happy, but it motivated them to deal with the problem.
Okay. The other part of the problem is a lot of these are wildlife proof containers, but they're so overfilled, they don't latch it. So,
And that's also, that is a notice of violation too. If you're
Is it
not able
okay?
to secure the carabiner on the front
Yeah.
of the trash can, then that is a violation as well.
Okay.
That's listed in our code currently.
Some of that's the people, not
We
the
need public comment on this.
homeowner. It's other people that put trash in people's places.
yeah, adding
People
to
raise
it.
their hands.
Yeah.
Sure.
I need a sign at the Murdoch Center that says this isn't the drop. It'd be nice.
We have those stickers we give you.
All right,
Pass
I'll
those
come
around.
by and get some.
Yeah.
Okay, any other board comments? No, do we want to open it up to the public? Ask the public what they,
Can they raise their hands? Do they have to talk to everybody?
Yes, they can raise their hands.
if anybody wants to make a comment on this, can you please raise your hand digitally? I guess. Okay,
All right, well, I'd like to make a motion.
there we go.
Approve ordinance 483, wildlife protection and enforcement.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thanks for taking care of this, or getting
Yeah.
it started at least.
Yeah.
And hopefully maybe a code enforcement officers, you kind of hate to go down that road, but boy, this isn't the only part of the problem.
Yeah, it's bad. I mean, it's bad all year round now.
Yeah.
Not just in the summer. It's,
Well, if you get photos, people send you photos, Glenn, can they just do a written summons first versus having to deliver it in person?
A lot of times we'll post the notices.
Okay.
Sorry. We'll post the notices and then try to make personal contact with them. And, and I really feel, if you look at this, we've had this ordinance on the books now for what, around 10 years. And our bear issues last summer were worse than they have ever been. And so, I mean, I really think our community has been warned enough, and it's kind of like being a responsible dog owner. I mean, it's the same kind of thing, is you have to take ownership for what the issues are that are causing conflicts in your neighborhood. And we want to encourage people to voluntarily comply with what the right thing to do is. But if they're not willing to do that, then we have to be willing to take the next step. This will eliminate us starting all over again in June with the same people we've been dealing with for the last 5 years.
Taking a lot of trouble giving them an alternative with the drop too.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
That's what I use. Every weekend I'm there. Okay, and I'm gonna go a little rogue here and do open forum so that we don't have the public waiting for this executive session and that other thing. So if anybody, we're gonna move on to open forum. And so anybody from the public, if you can raise your hand, do you want to just go through and ask?
Yeah.
Sorry, who's running? Yeah, Michael. Sure. Unmute them and then ask if they would like to make a public comment, 3 minutes per person.
Okay. Andy R., would you like to make a comment?
I don't know.
Right. Deborah Buhire, would you like to make a comment?
No, he's on mute.
Deborah Schulman, would you like to make a comment? Okay,
No, thank you.
thank you. iPhone, would you like to make a comment? iPhone. Gene Walter, would you like to make a comment?
No.
Thank you. Juno, would you like to make a comment? Juno? Linda's iPhone, would you like to make a comment? Mark, would you like to make a comment?
Sure, if I could. I have a couple of questions, if I may. The first one is, and I'm sorry if I missed it, but are you going to vote tonight for the new member of the trustees or not? And my second comment would be, a while back, we voted down some easement that the mayor had signed. And I just wondered, sitting up here looking down on the meadow, for what good did that do? What do we get out of it, or what's that going to change, if anything?
Thanks, Mark. We are not voting on the appointment tonight. It'll be on the 21st, and we are have been discussing the other issue with attorneys.
All right. Mary Kelly, would you like to make a comment? Mary Kelly? McKenna Hartford, would you like to make a comment?
She puts her comments in the newspaper.
No, thank you.
I figure I just asked you on the list. All right.
We could tell her about that.
Mistake. Private, would you like to make a comment? I was watching Saving Private Ryan last night. Private, would you like to make a comment? I don't think Diane has a microphone. Okay, I think that's everyone, Mayor.
Okay, and just to clarify, Michael, the people that you did not just ask do not have the capability. They do not have a microphone. So I just want
Correct.
to clarify that for the public, that we're not seeing a microphone, the capability for them to make a public comment. So, okay, we're good. So we are now going to enter into an executive.
Board updates, should we complete that part of it too, or
I was going to do that at the end.
at the end? Okay.
Yeah, I want us to all sing
Sure.
Kumbaya to Ryan at the end.
Okay, cool.
I gotta leave early.
Yeah, and he's going to give a speech, so 30 minutes until
Thanks. Sorry.
8:59.
Scotch in my hand.
Pardon me?
Did you say we were going to executive session?
We are getting ready to go into an executive session.
Okay. Thank you for now.
I move to move into an executive session for a conference with the water attorney for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions under CRS section 24-6-402 4B, and for the purpose of determining position related to matters that may be subject to negotiation, developing a strategy for negotiation, or instructions negotiator. You are under CRS section 24-6-402 4E regarding project P and project N strategy update, including interim town manager Wesley, I don't know how to say your last name, apologies, town clerk Antoinette McVeigh, finance manager Beth Williams, assistant town manager Michael Brock, water treatment plant superintendent Joe Fuqua, water attorney Gene Reardon. Thank you.
Okay, and then just for the public, so we will be back after we finish this executive session. I guess we can give a 5-minute countdown and let you know when we'll be back. So is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then Jean, our attorney, generally makes a statement that about recording, yeah, attorney-client privileges and recording this. If you would please do that, Jean Reardon. Thank you.
Yes, good evening. My name is Gene Reardon. The purpose of the executive session is to discuss various water quality matters related to our discharge permit and also issues related to the construction of Project P. The matters at hand include the exceedance of an ammonia limit, the consequences of that exceedance and response options and requirements, and the legal status of the Project P construction contract. I'm here tonight to discuss legal advice on specific legal issues related to these matters. My comments are privileged attorney-client communications. As such, they do not need to be recorded, and I recommend the recorder be turned off.
Thank you. And Michael's going to put everybody in the waiting room here now.
Bye-bye.
Looks like he was out in the sun. Never said it last time.
You deserve that though, right?
Yeah. That was funny. I'll give you that.